All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about one of the more undercovered teams in the National Football League, and that is, of course, the Cleveland Browns. Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, coming off an 11-6 season with old man Joe Flacco. I do think they had a really good underrated or undercovered offseason thus far. They made a trade for Jerry Jeudy. They picked up Quentin Jefferson, Jordan Hicks, Dante Foreman, Devin Bush, Jameis Winston. You did lose some players like Joe Flacco, Harrison Bryant, Anthony Walker Jr. But folks, I'm taking a look at this roster on paper here. First off, it's a miracle that they went 11-6 last season. That is so indicative of a couple of things. First off, obviously the coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski, he's that good. Like, he is one of the most underrated, underrespected head coaches in the National Football League. And I mean more mainstream, because obviously I know he won Coach of the Year, but not too many people, I think, fully understand what they did last season. Folks, your star running back got injured in game 2. Your starting quarterback played 6 games. Like, it is a miracle that they went 11-6. It's a miracle they won like over 8 games. That's how good this Cleveland Browns roster is. Like, folks, they're that good. So today we're talking about the Cleveland Browns, but before we get into it, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Browns fans, I apologize. It's been so long since our last Browns video. If you guys want more, let me know down below, but let's try and get this video to 250 likes. It's all going to start offensively for me. You know, that defense was #1 in the league for a reason last season. Opponents' yards in general, the whole year. The Cleveland Browns defense in yards per game and yards total were #1 in the National Football League. And obviously, the miracle, especially with Joe Flacco, ended in the first round of the wild card playoffs last year, but it was kind of expected. You know, the Cleveland Browns dealt with so many key injuries to your starting quarterback and your starting running back. But folks, I'm looking at like this Jerry Jeudy move. I mean, it's completely game-changing. So last year was really solid as far as just the offensive production goes. Amari Cooper, underrated wide receiver 1 in the NFL, 72 catches, 1,250 yards. Folks, he averaged over 17 yards per catch. Njoku, 81 catches, 882 yards, 6 touchdowns. Elijah Moore, very underrated as well, 59 catches, 640 yards. But you went out there and you got Jerry Jeudy. Now, Jerry Jeudy's really interesting to me because the dude is only 24 years old. I cannot believe he is only 24 years old. He's only been in the league for 4 seasons. This year was kind of a down season. The Broncos offense with Russell Wilson, Russ did his thing, but Russ was thrown for like a little over 200 passing yards per game. And it was Sean Payton's first year. You go back 2 years ago and you see a much better Jerry Jeudy, but it's just been up and down. His 4-year NFL career has just been so up and down. But now you're giving a fully healthy Deshaun Watson, obviously superstar running back in Nick Chubb. You're giving him Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and now you're giving a stud borderline wide receiver 1 in Jerry Jeudy. And keep in mind, this is Amari Cooper's contract year here. So I wouldn't be shocked if they do decide to draft a wide receiver relatively early. Keep in mind, because of the Deshaun Watson trade from a couple of years back, they don't have a first-round pick for the 3rd straight season. But that clearly with Andrew Berry, that has not been an issue in the slightest for him. You still got pick 54 in the 2nd round, pick 85 in the 3rd round, and then you've got a 5th, 6th, and 7th. So you're going to be able to go out there and get at least 2 key players who are going to help your roster out immediately. But once again, I'm looking at this roster and I don't really have any holes. I imagine they're going to use a lot of these draft picks on the linebacking room and the defensive line room just to get it a little bit younger, because once again, this roster is set for this upcoming season. So Andrew Berry can start to think, or continue to think, more long-term. How are these draft picks going to help us out long-term? They don't necessarily need 5 day 1 contributors. Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, and then obviously superstar Myles Garrett. That's your defensive line. I do think the Jordan Hicks move was a little bit underrated as well. I read this headline, I think it was from Bleacher Report. They were great in every NFL team's offseason. The Browns, by the way, thus far was a B. I think that's pretty fair. I'd probably go a little bit more B+, A-, because I really think that Jerry Jeudy acquisition goes a very long way, and you gave up what feels like practically nothing for him in the grand scheme of things. But I read this statement, the Browns haven't made a lot of moves or they have made a lot of moves, but not many have been headline worthy. And that's kind of where you start to see these Jordan Hicks, these Devin Bushes. That's why I fully anticipate either in the second or third round they will draft a linebacker. Jordan Hicks, underrated linebacker in the NFL, spent his career with the Minnesota Vikings. The last 5 seasons, he's had over 100 tackles. Really good veteran, but he's only 31 years old, so he's still in the prime of his athletic career. And Devin Bush is really interesting to me because he was, to me, underutilized with the Seattle Seahawks defense last season, but he only played 13 games and he only started 3 of those games. So if you get a Pittsburgh Devin Bush, where he spent his first 4 years of his NFL career, his rookie season, he had 109 total tackles. 2 years ago in his final year at Pittsburgh, 17 games played, 14 starts, 81 total tackles. I like it. It does feel a little bit not needle moving, but that's where I think the Jordan Hicks addition comes in. Obviously, you got more linebackers in the room there. The defensive back room still looking great with Denzel Ward, Juan Thornhill, Greg Newsome. You get the point here. I don't have any holes defensively with the #1 rated defense in the NFL last year with the Cleveland Browns. The only thing stopping Cleveland this upcoming season is going to be health. The division is insane. I really can't believe how the NFC or the AFC North is looking right now. Cleveland, Pittsburgh's on its way up with Russell Wilson acquisition. They picked up Patrick Queen from the Ravens. I do feel, though, that the Ravens are trending a little bit more downhill, even though they did pick up Derrick Henry. But it is the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going to be good again. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals still have a really good roster, a really good team. I wouldn't be surprised if all 4 of these teams just went 3-3 against each other. It's just a crazy division. You're going to need to win over 12 football games to win that to win that division, get a good seed. And I think Cleveland's fully capable of that. We saw it last year with a non-fully healthy roster where your starting quarterback, even though Deshaun Watson went 5-1 in the 6 games he played. You literally had old man Joe Flacco as your starting quarterback heading into the playoffs. Folks, they won 11 games with your starting QB playing 6. And your superstar running back playing 2. And they still had a fully competent, still fully capable electric offense. And it's just, it really is spectacular. I'm pretty much in shock of how kind of undercovered, under-talked this Cleveland Browns team is. But granted, Deshaun Watson's health is very big. In the 2 years he's been with the Cleveland Browns, he's only played in 6 total games. But if you can get anything close to what we saw in 2020, where he threw for 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, the dude was an absolute beast. He was throwing for over 300 yards per game. He had made 3 straight Pro Bowls right before that suspension season. If you get that Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns are immediate Super Bowl contenders. So it just kind of comes down to Deshaun Watson's health, in my opinion, and the whole team's health. But you can say that with a lot of teams. But the Cleveland Browns, I think you guys are looking really freaking good. So let me know your thoughts on Cleveland's offseason thus far. Let me know your thoughts on the draft coming up less than a week away. And stay tuned for more. Peace.